Well, welcome back, family. Welcome back. This is the Talented 10th, Coach Jay, coming back at you with some more content. I got my gear on today, folks. I got my gear on. I am ready to do a little coaching on today if you're up to receive it. Uh, Last time we got together, we were talking about John building this generational wealth for himself first, and then also for possibly wife and a child or children later. So, we ended up doing the math on John, as you can recall, from the age of 20 to the age of 30. He started investing into his Roth individual retirement arrangement, IRA, and he did that for 10 years. He was doing $500 a month, and he did that for, once again, 10 years. He contributed $60,000 into his Roth IRA. Once he got there, he had switched jobs. At the age of 30, he stopped investing into his Roth IRA and he started investing into his Roth 401k plan. And he started contributing. He was making $60,000 a year, so he was contributing $3,600 a year. That's $300 a month, and then the company was matching an additional 4%. He was contributing 6%, and the company was matching 4%. So a total between the two was 10%. So he had backed off of completely out of his investing into his Roth IRA, and he started investing into his Roth 401k. Why? Because he can do less money because of the company match, and also still have that same amount of $500 getting invested into himself, even though he was only doing $300 a month. That was a great thing. We come to find out that his contribution with the Roth IRA, once again, was $60,000, and then that was from the age of 20 to the age of 30, and then from the age of 30 to the age of 60, he started investing $300 a month into his Roth, game changer, his Roth 401k plan, and then, of course, the company match. So his total contribution for that entire 40-year journey was a total of $168,000 that he invested. And we come to find out for that whole period, and this is assuming a 10% rate of return on his investments, should I say, because he's got the Roth IRA and the Roth 401k. That total amount came up to 10% compound growth per year, assuming, because they're in index funds, low fees, and also the index funds over the past, since 1957, have been the average return on them have been about 10.47 to be exact percent, but we just went with 10%. So at the end of that 40-year journey between those two funds that he's investing for his future self, $2,655,555.38. Okay, and we come to find out that if he start withdrawing from that money, that he would end up taking out 100 to include Social Security. Don't forget Social Security. We did that. $129,000. We just rounded it off, those numbers off. $129,000. Okay, so we also said, and John got married at the age of 35, and his wife that he met on a job, once he switched over jobs at the age of 30, they dated for 5 years, from 30 to 35. They got married at 35, and she started participating in her plans as well, even though we didn't include her numbers in. But she wanted to do the same thing he was doing, because she said, yeah, I can do this. Let's build wealth for our black family. They decided to have a child at 37 years old. So between the age of 35 and 37, when they was contemplating on having a family with this child, they said, okay, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and set our child up for generational wealth. We don't want them to have to start from ground zero like we did. So between the two of them, they decided to do $35,000 once the child was born. $35,000 once that child was born, so that that child can have generational wealth, not as a trust fund, baby, but they want to start building generational wealth because they know that it's a lot easier if you have a little a step up in life. So that child was born, and once they turned 37, and they took $35,000 between the two of them. Now watch this. And say for instance, today was the day when they had the child, 2024. The gift tax on for 2024 is $18,000. Anything above that, you got to pay taxes on it. But anything 18,000 below, you don't. So between the two of them, they just went with $35,000. So they were able to split that money that they are giving into their child, because each individual can give up to $18,000 without a gift tax attached to it. So there they are. So once that child was born, they decided to open up a brokerage account. A custodial brokerage account is what it's called. Once that child turns 18, that money goes over to that child has full custody of that account because they're considered an adult. But of course, you got parents who are guiding and leading and all of that. So, and you're training the child, so you don't have to worry about anything going on that's not supposed to be going on. So they go ahead and invest this money into this child. Now they're letting this child know this money is earmarked. Now this is a brokerage account, so it is taxed. So they're letting this child know this money is earmarked for your future self. Once you get to the age of 60, we want to ride this money out for 60 years. 10% compound growth, once again, in an index fund, $10 million. $10 million, 10 bagger is what I call it. So they are setting this child up for financial independence, financial freedom. Now let's take it another route. So, and the child's name is John Jr. John Jr. is going to carry on his legacy wealth for this family. Let's say, okay, well, we're going to do $35,000, but we're going to put it now into a 559 college savings. It's really an investment, but we call it college savings. Once again, we got index funds that we can choose from. We're going to choose a, good growth index fund, like a Vanguard 500 index fund, Admiral shares, or Vanguard ETF, like VOO is the ticker for it. Okay, we can do that, but we got enough money in there. We can get any fund we want because we're starting off with $35,000 into this 529 savings account for John Jr. Okay, so what we're going to do is, once John Jr., because the money's got to be in there 15 years before you can start rolling it over into a Roth IRA, according to the Secure 2.0 Act of 2022. Said, okay, let's gamify this. So the money is triple tax benefit, depending on what state you're in. You got the taxes. You're not paying. You get a tax benefit with submitting the money. You get a tax benefit while the money is compounding and the growth on it. And once you pull it out for a qualified expense for college, you get it's tax-free as well. Triple tax benefit. Now watch this. So we take that $35,000. Once again, we're always assuming 10% compound growth on our money. That's what we're using for these examples. We know the market's up and down. A lot of professionals or people who are talking in this financial space, they may use 7% or 8% to be very conservative. And we didn't factor in, the inflation rate because we don't know what it'll be. Who knows what the inflation rate is going to be. So we're just using 10% because we're just looking at the growth on this money. All right, $35,000, 10% compound interest. We're going to do this, leave that money in there, not add a dime to it for 18 years. At 10% compound growth, that money will turn into $194,597.11 by the time that child is 18, just by doing Jill did, half of the money, and John did half of the money to initially put that money in. Once again, we can't go past the gift tax. If it's in 2024, $18,000 a person can give it to another person without a gift tax being attached. Once you go over that, again, you have to pay taxes, a gift tax. So that money has now turned into, I'm sorry, that money has now turned into, yes, $194,597.11. So I said, okay, at the age of 15, because we passed the 15-year rule, because that count, it's got to be open for 15 years before you can start converting any dollars into the Roth IRA. So we already know that that's going to be plenty of money left over for John to go to school. So we're going to roll over, once again, we can only roll over $35,000 lifetime from the 529 to a Roth IRA into that beneficiary's account. So we've opened up a Roth IRA. Johnny opened up a Roth IRA, and he started converting that money. We're going to do $7,000 a year because, once again, he's got to be working to make the $7,000 to be able to contribute to a Roth IRA. Even though he's not contributing in his money, he's just rolling his money over from the 529 plan to the Roth IRA. All right, year number one, he rolls it over $7,000. We're assuming that's today's time because it's indexed for inflation. So by the end, it'll probably be $10,000 that you can put into your Roth each year. So we do this for 5 years from the age of 18, $7,000 a year, 18 to 22. He's rolled that money over. Remember, it's still compounding. That money turns out to be $42,784.54 that has been rolled over from Johnny's 529 account that he's never put a dime in, and it's rolled over. Once again, assume 10% compound growth. Johnny said, I'm not contributing anything else. I'm going to just let that money ride out for the next 38 years until he's 60 years old, where he can start drawing that money out penalty and tax-free. Okay, and the parents said, okay, that's fine. But remember, he's got $159,597.11 left in his 529. So I'm sure that can take care of college, even say, that's even if he goes to a nice school, very nice, expensive school, where that'll help greatly. So he's got that going. He's got 2 buckets going. So at the end of that 38 years from that $42,000, 10% compound growth, $1,600,327.63. Johnny's satisfied. He said, hey, I take care of my future, and I'm gonna live up and spend every dollar. Once I start earning money, big money, I'll spend it all because I know my financial future is secure for the most part. If he wants to live off if he pull off 4% out of that, roughly between $60,000 and $70,000, and he'll be okay without that money running out. Now, then the other Johnny side of him said, wait a minute. So I'm gonna have me a good job when I graduate college at the age of 22. I've rolled all that money over. Let me see if I can contribute just a little bit more to see how much more it'll be. Johnny started contributing $250 a month. That's $3,000 a year for the next 38 years. Same scenario, starting off with $42,784.54, and he started contributing after he's rolled all that money over into a Roth Roth IRA. Continue with that. $250 for the next 38 years, 10% compound growth. Age of 60, $2,692,457.95. $2,692,457.93. Johnny said, I'm maximizing. I'm going for that number. There you go. So you got all those scenarios. You can just leave that money in a brokerage account. It's going to be taxed. Or you can use all these tax benefits, the above that I just mentioned, and have either 1.6 million or 2.6 million, or you can have 10 million. That's going to be taxed if you just leave it in a brokerage account for 60 years. So this is generational wealth upon generation. This is easy. This is a game changer. Game changer. Come on, family. Let's get with it.